Hello, today we're going to be doing a nice, relaxing story commentary type of video over some gameplay. This is something that a few people requested. I didn't think I had many interesting stories to tell. I'm not an interesting person unless you dive into my medical history. So today we're going to be talking about how I discovered that I have a heart condition. I discovered this when I was about 15 years old. But to understand how I discovered it, we have to go all the way back about 10 years prior, when I was 5 years old and used to play football on the school playground. So here in the UK, you have what you would call, essentially you'd call it either break or like playtime or something when you're a kid. It's like, you get your 30 minutes outside, it's playtime, go and play football, or soccer for the Americans, right? So yeah, we used to do that, play football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, for like 30 minutes. And sometimes during that, my heartbeat would, rise up. And I knew as a young kid even that this was a normal thing. You run around, you spend a lot of energy, your heartbeat goes up, and you need a rest, and you're out of breath. So I thought it was just quite normal. And I thought back then that's how everyone feels when they run around and we play football for 30 minutes. I thought everyone was extremely out of breath and their heartbeat pumping really fast. What I didn't realise at the time was that mine was beating very, very fast. I'll tell you how fast in a few minutes. So I thought this was normal until it started to be quite painful. And I would tell my teachers at the time that my heart was beating really fast and it was painful. And obviously, them being maybe somewhat naive and just, not really paying too much attention to it, they thought, oh, this is normal. He's been running around outside playing football. His heart beating is fast. It's completely normal. And they just kind of shrug it off. And this went on for the entire duration of my primary school or first school. Whatever you want to call that. We call it first school or primary school here in the UK. Primary school was ages 4 up until, I want to say like maybe 11, 12, was it? Possibly 11. Or 10, I don't know. Yeah, somewhere between that, like 10 to 11 years old. For 5 or 6 years this went on, and nobody ever, this is baffling to me now, nobody ever thought to ask, like, can I feel your heartbeat and see how fast it really is? Or like, do you want to see a doctor or something like that? Like, nobody ever asked that. So I just lived with it. And my way of dealing with it was just wait until it stops beating as fast as it was doing. And it would usually last somewhere in the range of 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. So I was in complete pain for that duration of time. I would sweat. In some very rare cases, I would feel quite faint. And then as I got older, it got worse and started happening more. Then it started happening sort of, there was a period in my life where when I got to high school, it happened throughout, we have middle school here in some areas too. This will be weird for some people in the UK. They'll be like, what do you mean middle school? But here, I had a primary school, middle school, and high school. Now, this happens in some places in the UK, but not many. So that's just how it was for me. I believe that might be a much more American thing, actually. Anyway, it happened a bit throughout middle school. We'd do PE. I don't know what you guys call it in America. Like, you do sports whenever as like an actual class in school that you'd do like once or twice a week. It would still happen. I had no idea why it was happening until I got to high school. And then one day we were playing badminton, which is not I might offend some badminton players here, but it's not the most athletic sport in comparison to things like running track and field, right? Or playing rugby or American football or whatever else it might be, It's not the most it's not the most athletic thing. It's not the most stressing thing. But I'd say roughly 30 to 40 minutes into playing badminton, my heartbeat goes up. And I mention it to my friend at the time who I'm playing badminton with. And his immediate reaction is to feel my heartbeat. And this is the first time that anyone had ever done this. I, at this point, was either 14 or 15 years old. And for the first time, somebody felt my heartbeat. And he was like, whoa, that is not normal. The first thing he did then was bring me to the teacher of the class and say, feel Jaden's heartbeat. And that's what my teacher did. And my teacher, like, his eyes just expanded like twice the size of what, his pupils just went huge. He was like, whoa. And he, obviously asked me if I'm like, okay and stuff. And I'd said, like, yeah, this is normal. Like, this happens. And he was like, you really need to get that looked at. And very, like, I don't know, the world works in weird ways, but his wife was actually my local doctor, which was 30 seconds down the road from my house. So he told her to schedule an appointment with me, and she saw me. They got me on an ECG to measure my my heart rate and stuff, while it was completely normal resting heart rate, just to get a baseline of what my resting heart rate was. And we thought, there's going to be no way in which we can capture your heart rate when it's sped up. I think they might have, I may be dreaming things here, but I think at one point they probably put me on like a treadmill or something, tried to, like induce it, and it never happened. And then one day again, it happened at school while doing physical activities. And the immediate thing that we did was call my mum and say, my heartbeat is rising. And she said, right, I'm coming to collect you, and we're going straight to the doctors. We're telling them we don't have an appointment, we just need to see someone now to measure, my heartbeat. And we did that. I think within like 5 to 10 minutes they got me in. They measured my heartbeat while it was happening. And what they got to see was my heartbeat going at an incredibly fast rate. And then while the doctor had the stethoscope on my heart, it stopped. Like it didn't stop completely, but the incredibly fast heartbeat, the irregular heartbeats stopped, and it went back to completely normal within a second. So he got to witness the incredibly fast heart rate, and then it just switching like a light switch, just switching back to the completely normal heart rate. He was like, wow, like we need to get you on an ECG and stuff. So the next time it happened, again, we did the same thing, and they got me on the ECG quickly. While I was on that, it did the same thing. It stopped while I was resting. And I figured out in that moment that if I'm laying down and if I'm resting and I'm purposely trying to control my breathing, I myself can control this condition, and I can make my heartbeat relax and go back to the regular beats per minute. And ever since that day, that is how I have managed this condition. We found out the condition is called SVT, supraventricular tachycardia, very long condition. And it's just irregular heartbeat through physical activity, irregular breathing, anything like that. And the weird thing is, they said it's usually something you'd see in a lot of older people and something you would grow into. As I've now got older, it's actually something I've grown out of, which is very weird, the complete opposite. So it kind of spiked when I was, a teenager, and now it happens maybe 3 times a year. But there was a point in my life where it was happening 3 times a month, maybe even sometimes 3 times a week. And I've just slowly started to grow out of it. I was offered medication for it. They gave me a pacemaker thingy at one point where I think that's what it's called. You like a little machine that you stick to your chest and it beeps and records your heart rate. Is that what it's called? Maybe it's not. Maybe I've said the wrong thing there. I'm sure some of you will know what it is. And then they tried to put me on beta blockers to stop my heart rate from rising. They didn't work. And then one day they said, we can just send a little tube thing with some filling or something and a camera inside your body and fix whatever is wrong with your heart. It's a very, very safe procedure. They'll do the stats that are like, there's a 0.05% chance or something that it goes wrong. We do this all the time to fix this issue, blah, blah, blah. And in the end, I didn't go through with it because I was like, well, even the smallest chance, I don't want to do it because I can control it myself, and I'm very happy to live with it and just lie down and relax whenever it happens, and it will go back to normal. So yeah, that's how I found out I have a heart condition. My heartbeat, for those who want to know, I said I would mention it. So my resting heart rate is somewhere in the range of 80 to 90. If I'm really relaxed, I believe it'll be like 70 something. And then when my heartbeat goes up erratically because of SVT, I think the highest recording is 186. So yeah, that's how much of an increase it is. Basically 100 BPS increase. So yeah, there was one time where it was so painful and so fast that I actually did collapse, and that was in high school, and my friend caught me. But it's only ever happened once. So yeah, if it ever happens, I'm usually at home anyway. Because I was gonna say because I have a work from home job. I don't anymore. I need to get used to saying that. I don't anymore. But for the majority of my life, I've been at home mostly. So I just lie down on the floor or on the bed or on the sofa, control my breathing for 30 seconds, and it goes back to normal. And then I'm good to go for another few months. So yeah, there it is. SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. That's the story about how I found out I have a heart condition. Hopefully some of you find this interesting. I guess you get to know a bit more about me. It's not something that impacts my life. I don't want any sympathy at all. I just find it funny. We joke about it now. Whenever it happens, my family will say that I'm having a heart attack as a little joke. I'm not, obviously. Heart attacks also aren't something to joke about, but it's just a little joke between us. We don't really know what to call it. We're not going to call it an SVT attack. It's either is your heart going off or are you having a heart attack? To which I'll just say yes, lie down, and then it's fixed. So yeah, all right. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I do have a very long history of medical issues. The hospital is very much my second home, so there is a couple more stories like this I could tell, and a couple more conditions I do have. So I guess in the future I could maybe do some stories on how I found out about those. Okay, right, thank you, and goodbye. I'll see you in the next video.